Hello everyone. So in the previous session, we have discussed about a harmonic distortion produced by the amplifier circuit. Now in this session, we will discuss some other type of the distortion introduced by the amplifier circuit. Now before we start, let us see what is the harmonic distortion. So in a harmonic distortion, already you know that we have a kind of a amplifier circuit. Now this amplifier circuit is containing a non-linear device, like a transistor. Okay? And when we apply a frequency f at the input, then in the output you will get the frequency f, which is called a fundamental frequency. With this fundamental frequency, some harmonics are also going to be produced. It will produce 2f, 3f, 4f. All this frequency is going to be produced by this amplifier circuit because the transistor has a non-linear characteristics. Now, when all these fundamental frequencies, all these harmonics are going to be superposed on a fundamental frequency, then the shape of the fundamental frequency is going to be changed, and that is known as a harmonic distortion. So here at the input, if I will apply the purely a sine wave, then in the output, your output signal will be like this because the harmonics are going to be superposed on a fundamental frequency. So this is known as a harmonic distortion. Now, the same type of the distortion is there in the amplifier circuit, which is called a intermodulation distortion. So let us see what is the intermodulation distortion. So again, here we have a amplifier which is containing a non-linear devices. Now at the input of the amplifier, instead of applying a single frequency like a f, here if we apply a complex signal which contains the number of the frequency. So in practice also normally whatever our speech is there or the music is there, then this music signal or the speech contain more than one frequency. That is F1, F2, F3, and they all this frequency are added with the different amplitude. So here let us see a kind of a complex signal which contains the frequency F1 and F2. So actually the F3, F4, all this number of the frequency are going to be produced. So here it is known as a complex signal. This is my complex signal. Now, when this signal is applied, to the amplifier circuit, then in the output of the amplifier, you will get the frequency F1 as well as the F2 will be also present. But there will be some kind of a addition and the subtraction of the frequency will take place. So here you will get a frequency F1 plus F2 also and F2 minus F1. Same way the harmonics will be also there. 2F1 will be produced, 2F2 will be produced. Then here again there will be addition and the subtraction of the harmonics will be there. So you will get a F1 plus 2F2 and F1 minus 2F2, as well as you will have a F2 plus 2F1 and F2 minus 2F1. This kind of the signals are going to be produced. So this kind of the different frequency are produced, which is called a intermodulating frequency. All this frequency is known as intermodulating frequencies. And when all this intermodulating frequency is going to be added with your F1 and F2, as a result, the shape of your input signal is going to be changed, and it is known as a intermodulation distortion. So harmonic distortion will be there if we have a single frequency at the input. Intermodulation distortion will be there when we have more than one frequency present at the input of the signal. And here the addition subtraction of the frequency are going to be produced, which is superposed on your signal, input signal, and that will going to produce a intermodulation distortion. Normally the intermodulation distortion, if it is less than 2%, then it is called a good quality of the amplifier. But if it is a more than 2%, then the quality means you have to take care about for reducing the distortion. This intermodulation distortion is changing with the output power of the amplifier. If we see the graph, here on this axis, on the x-axis, if we have a output power, and on this y-axis, if we write a intermodulation distortion, this distortion you have to measure in percentage. Now already you know how to calculate the distortion. So here with this output power, means normally as this power is increasing, then the intermodulation distortion is also increasing, and after certain output power, the intermodulation distortion is suddenly going to rise. So here if this distortion is up to a 2%, then it is a tolerable. Means you can have a good quality of the sound. But if it will be more than 2%, then the quality of the sound is going to be a poor. So here actually why this intermodulation distortion is increasing with the output power. So when we increase the output power, then the Q factor, already you know what is the Q factor. The Q factor of the transistor is going to be swing from a cutoff region to the saturation region. So whenever the Q point is will be in a cutoff region as well as in the saturation region, then it is going to be produce the distortion. So if the swing of the Q point will be large, then the intermodulation distortion will be also a large. So normally in the amplifier, if we play the music at a lower volume, then the distortion will be less. But if we play with a higher volume, then the distortion is going to increase. So this is about a intermodulation distortion. Now let us see another type of the distortion in the amplifier, which is called a frequency distortion. So what is a frequency distortion? Normally the amplifier should give a equal response to all the frequency. Means if I will apply the lower frequency or a higher frequency for all the types of the frequency, the gain of the amplifier must be a constant. But in practice, if we see that the amplifier is not giving a equal response to all the amplifier, and that is known as a frequency distortion. So again, if we take, let us have a amplifier circuit. amplifier circuit, we applied a different frequency at the input, and if we measure the voltage gain for a different frequency, voltage gain for the different frequency. This is my input, the frequency F is present. Now let us say I will apply a lower frequency as well as a higher frequency, or we have a lower frequency like 100 Hz, 200 Hz, 500 Hz, 1 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, 5 kilo, 10 kilohertz, then if we apply a 50 kilohertz and a 100 kilohertz, means I am applying a lower frequency as well as I am go on increasing the frequency, and we apply the higher frequency. So if we see the practical response of the amplifier, and if we measure the voltage gain for all this frequency, then you will find, let us say, typical value of this voltage gain for all this frequency. Here for this 100 Hz, you will find the gain of the amplifier is 6. Then the frequency is increasing, so gain of the amplifier becomes 7. Here it becomes 8. Then we have a 10. Now here if you look at this, that I am increasing the frequency, but the gain of the amplifier is going to be remain constant. For a 2 kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, again I am finding a voltage gain 10. Remember. Then if I will increase the frequency, then this gain is going to decrease, become a 8, then it become a 7. So here the amplifier is not giving a equal response to all the frequency. For a particular range of the frequency, the gain is maximum. Then for the lower frequency as well as for the higher frequency, the gain of the amplifier is decreasing. If we plot this graph, a voltage gain against the frequency, which is known as a frequency response curve for the amplifier. So it will be like this. Frequency it is not a frequency. On the y-axis we have a voltage gain AV, and on the x-axis we have frequency F. Then according to this data, here if I will plot, then the graph will be like this. So you will find here, that between these two rings, my gain of the amplifier is almost constant, and here we have a low frequency range, here we have high frequency range. This is known as a mid frequency range. So here the gain of the amplifier is maximum, that is a 10, and it is starting from a 1 kilohertz and up to a 10 kilohertz. The gain is constant. But for the low frequency part as well as for the high frequency part, the gain of the amplifier is decreasing. Means the amplifier is not giving a equal response to all the frequency. This is known as a frequency distortion. So if we have the ideal amplifier, remember, if we have the ideal amplifier, then the frequency response curve will be a flat. Means either you apply a lower frequency or a high frequency, then the gain of the amplifier will be a constant. This is a ideal frequency response curve. Ideal frequency response curve. Okay? Now, what is the reason? Here, for the low frequency, why the gain of the amplifier is decreasing, and for the high frequency also, why the gain of the amplifier is decreasing. So here, whatever the capacitors we use in the amplifier, as well as the capacitance is introduced by the active device, is responsible for this low frequency and the high frequency curve. Here, normally, if you see that in the amplifier, typical circuit of an amplifier, then you will find here we have, let us say, a transistor. Then this is my load. We are taking this output. Here we applied a input. Now, in any kind of the amplifier circuit, when we apply the input signal, this input signal is applied through a kind of a capacitor which is known as a coupling capacitor. Then from the collector we have this output, we are taking the output, again we are taking this output through this coupling capacitor. So at the input as well as at the output, we are connecting these two coupling capacitors so that we can avoid the DC component. So here now you know the property of the capacitor, that the capacitive reactance is given by 1 upon 2 pi Fc. 2 pi Fc. So here for the lower frequency, we know that for the lower frequency F, the reactance is large. So here for the low value of F, the Xc is large. And whenever the Xc will be large, then the voltage drop across this Xc will be also large here and here. So if I will apply my input signal, remember, if my input signal is, let us say, of a 20 millivolt with the frequency of a 100 Hertz, that is a low frequency. But the reactance of the capacitor is large. As a result, the voltage appear on the base of the transistor will not be a 20 millivolt, but it will be a 15 millivolt. So my input signal is going to be decreased due to this coupling capacitor. As well as whatever my amplified signal is present here, let us say my amplified signal at this point is a 100 millivolt. 100 millivolt is there. But due to this capacitive reactance, the Xc is large. So instead of a 100 millivolt, I will get only a 80 millivolt output. So here the coupling capacitors are effective, and due to that the gain of the amplifier is decreasing. Now as we increase the frequency, then the reactance Xc is going to be decreased. So the drop across the coupling capacitor will also decrease and your output voltage will increase. So as a result, the gain of the amplifier is increasing as my frequency is increasing. So in a low frequency part, the coupling capacitor is effective. Remember, coupling capacitor are effective, and due to that the gain of the amplifier is less at a lower frequency. Now let us see at a high frequency what is going to happen. In high frequency, Here, if you are talking about a active device, then let us say a transistor. Now, in the transistor, you know that base, collector, and emitter, and there are two PN junctions. One of the PN junction is between the base and collector. Another PN junction is between the base and emitter. So whatever the PN junction is there, this PN junction is also behave like a capacitor. Remember, that is known as CVC. Then another capacitor is there between the base and emitter, that is the CBE. And between this collector and emitter, the capacitor effect is there. So this is the CCE. This is known as a inter-electrode capacitor. Remember, actually there is no capacitor at all. But that whatever the junction is there, this junction behaves like a capacitor. So here the three capacitors are going to be effective, and no doubt the value of this capacitor will be very small. It will be in order of Q picofarad. Very small. So it is in order of Q picofarad. So at lower frequency, the inter-electrode capacitors are very large. Reactance of the inter-electrode capacitors is very large, so it is not effective. But when we apply a high frequency like a 50 kilohertz or a 100 kilohertz, then the reactance of all these capacitors here, this reactance of this capacitor is going to be decreased, and that's why the output signal is also going to decrease, because the reactance will be less, so the signal will get the path. So it will work as a kind of a, you can say kind of a short circuit. And due to all this inter-electrode capacitor, the output voltage of the amplifier is going to decrease. So whatever the response we have here at a high frequency, that is due to a inter-electrode capacitor. Right? So you should understand what is the frequency distortion. Frequency distortion means the amplifier is not giving a equal response to all the frequency, and that is due to a capacitor. The low frequency response is poor due to a coupling capacitor, and the high frequency response is poor due to a inter-electrode capacitor. Okay. Now for whatever the range, here the response is flat, then it is called a bandwidth of the amplifier. Bandwidth of the amplifier means for this frequency range, the amplifier is giving a equal response, and that frequency range is useful for the amplification. And about the bandwidth we will discuss in the next chapter. Okay? So how to find out the bandwidth of the amplifier, and according to the bandwidth we can also have the classification of the amplifier, like a audio amplifier, video amplifier, RF amplifier, VHF amplifier. Different types of the amplifiers are there. Okay. Now we will see one more type of the distortion, which is known as a frequency distortion, which is called a phase distortion. So actually the reason behind the phase distortion and the frequency distortion is same. But what is the phase distortion? Let us see. Now in the amplifier, already we know that there is a phase difference between the input signal and the output signal. Here at the input, if I will apply a signal like this, means first of all we have a positive cycle and then we have a negative cycle. So if you see the signal in the output, then it is going to be a inverted. So here the amplifier is going to be introduced a phase difference of a 180 degree. 180 degree. But this phase is not remain same for all the frequency. Only for particular range, the phase difference is 180 degree. For the rest of the frequency, the phase is different, and that is called a phase distortion. Phase distortion is also sometimes known as a delay distortion. It is also called a delay distortion. Means when we apply the signal, after some time your signal is going to be produced at the output. There will be a kind of a delay, delay in the output. So it is known as the delay distortion. Now, how to measure? How to find out a phase distortion with the frequency? Correct? So here again, if we apply the different frequency at the input of the amplifier, and if you measure the phase between the input and the output signal through a oscilloscope. Oscilloscope is a device through which you can obtain the Lissajous pattern, and from the Lissajous pattern you can find out the phase difference between the input signal and the output signal. So here, if I will write a typical value of the phase difference between the input signal and the output signal, then it will be like this. Here, when the frequency is 100 Hz, you will get a phase difference of 260 degree. When I am increasing the frequency, it becoming 240 degree. Then for the 500, it will be a 200 degree. Here I am getting a 180 degree, 180 degree, 180 degree, again a 180 degree, and then this is going to reduce to a 150 degree and 100 degree like this. So you can see only for this particular range the phase difference is 180 degree, but for the lower frequency part the phase difference is large, and for the higher frequency again the phase difference is large. So here the phase difference is not remain constant for all the frequency, and that is called a phase distortion. So if we plot the graph, for a phase against the frequency, here we have a phase and then the frequency f will be there. Then the curve here, the maximum phase will be 270 degree. Then in the middle it is a 180 degree, and the minimum phase will be a 90 degree. Remember, you cannot have a phase difference less than 90 degree, as well as you cannot have a phase difference more than 270 degree because due to the capacitor. And if we plot this curve, then the curve will be like this. Remember. So, for this particular frequency, here we have a 180 degree of phase shift. But for the lower frequency part, here you can say this is a low frequency part and this one is a high frequency part. So in that case, the phase is less than, in a high frequency part, the phase is less than 180 degree, and in the low frequency part, the phase is more than 270 degree. But if we have a ideal amplifier, remember, if we have the ideal amplifier, then the curve will be like this. Either we apply a lower frequency or a higher frequency, then the phase difference for all this frequency will be same, and that is the 180 degree. Normally, this phase distortion is not important if we have a audio amplifier, because our ear is not able to detect the delay. Our ear is not able to detect the phase of the signal. So if the phase distortion is higher or the lower, it doesn't make any difference for us. But when we are talking about a video amplifier, then our eye is able to detect this delay. So when we design the video amplifier, at that time we have to take care about the phase distortion. If the phase distortion, remember, is proportional to the frequency, if it is proportional to the frequency, then again we have no problem. But for the different frequency, if the phase distortion is different, then your picture is going to be smeared in a television. Because I am talking about the video amplifier. So in video amplifier, if this distortion is changing with the frequency, then whatever the video signal is there, this video signal is combination of so many frequency. so for some other frequency, the delay will be high. Some other frequency, the delay will be less, and due to this, your picture is going to be a smear. Remember, and that's why we have to take care about the phase distortion in a video amplifier. So you should remember, the phase distortion is not important for the audio amplifier because our ear is not able to detect that distortion. But the eye is detecting the distortion, eye is able to see the phase difference, and therefore it is important in case of the video amplifier. Now sometimes we are also representing this phase distortion with the help of the graph, which is a polar coordinate graph, and it is going to be like this. You can represent the same table. Remember, here we have the frequency. Then the voltage gain is there and the phase is there. So you can plot the graph, a gain and the phase. That graph you can draw on a polar coordinate graph. Remember. Now, what will be the polar coordinate graph? That I will show you. Okay, so look at this. Here, whatever the circle we have, this different circle, these are a concentric circle. Concentric circle means for all the circle we have a same center. Then this circle is representing the gain. Remember, here the circles are circles are representing the gain of the amplifier. And whatever the lines we have, all this line is representing the angle. So let us say that whatever the inner circle is there, this inner circle is representing a gain of 6. Remember. Then this circle is representing gain of 8. Then the next one is representing a gain of 10. And then here we have gain of 12. So each circle is representing a gain of the amplifier. Right? 6, 8, 10, 12. That you can take here according to your scale. Then whatever the lines we have, these lines are representing angle. So this line means this is representing a 0 degree. Here we have a 90 degree. Then this is a 180 degree and this is representing a 270 degree. Here I have marked this line according to a 10 degree. So if this is a 0 degree, this is a 10 degree, 20 degree, 30 degree, and here you have a 90 degree. Then this will be a 100, 110, 120 will be there, 180, then 190, here it is a 200, this is a 280, 290, this will be a 300 and up to a 360 degree. So this is known as a polar coordinate graph. Now how to draw this graph? So first of all you have to see here when this gain is 6, at that time what is the phase difference? 260 degree. So where is the circle for the gain of 6? This is the circle for the gain of 6. And where is the 260 degree? So here we have a 260 degree and this is the circle for 6. So you have to mark this point. Correct? Then for the 7, it is a 240. So this one is 240 and this is the circle for 6. This is the circle for 8. So in between, whatever the point will be there, it is for the gain of 7. Then for the gain of 8, 200. So 240 and here we have 200. So for the 200, what is the gain? 8. For the 8, the gain is there this circle. So here we have to mark it 200 as well as the gain is 8. Then for all, the gain is 10, 180 degree. 180 degree is here and for the gain of 10, here I will make a mistake. So this is for this, and then for the gain of 10, the phase difference is 180 degree. So here this is the circle for gain of 10 and the 180 degrees here. So this will be my marking. For all this frequency, it will be the same point. And then the gain is decreasing, become a 8 and the phase difference is 150. So it is a 170, 160, this is 150 and the gain is 8. So where is the gain is 8 is here, 150 is there. So you have to mark it like this. Then 100 degree and the 7. So where is the 100 degree? 100 degree is here and the 7. So the gain will be somewhere here. So in this way, if we join all this point, then this is known as a polar coordinate graph for the voltage gain against the phase difference. So actually we have plotted this graph for a single frequency f. But for the complex frequency, same type of the graph, if we draw, then it is known as Nyquist diagram. It is known as a Nyquist diagram. But here, this diagram we are not going to discuss here. It is out of the scope for you. But what is the importance of this diagram? Through this diagram, you will come to know about the stability of the amplifier. Here, this diagram will give you the information about the stability. Now, sometimes what will happen? That amplifier may be converted into a oscillator. So through this diagram, you can predict that amplifier will be converted into a oscillator or not. But all this kind of a study is beyond the scope of your syllabus, so we are not discussing. But you should know that what is the polar coordinate graph and how we can plot this graph. Right? So this is about a phase distortion.